Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri, and we all cried our eyes out, at least I did, when our next guest popped a Sia song into the car radio and visualized the deaths of every member of her family in the finale of 6 Feet Under. Since then, Lauren Ambrose has starred in a number of TV shows and films and was most recently nominated for a Tony Award for her incredible performance as Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady. Now, you can see her in M. Night Shyamalan's new scary story, The Servant, about a young family with a big secret. It'll be dropping its first 3 episodes on Thanksgiving Day on Apple TV+. Let's take a look.
Leanne? Leanne Grayson?
Hello, Mrs. Turner.
Hi, I'm Sean.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Turner. You have a beautiful home.
She is a godsend.
I was expecting someone older, less weird.
We hope you'll treat our house as your home. I'm sure you and Jericho will form an instant bond.
She's cool with everything? She knows the situation. I guess we should talk about this. She's gone. You can put the doll down now.
I'm fine as I am, Mr. Turner.
We lost Jericho when he was 13 weeks. Dorothy took it hard. This is the only thing that brought her back.
I should take Jericho for his walk now.
You hired a nanny for a doll?
Where did you find her?
She is wonderful with Jericho. And if my baby trusts her, so do I.
How much did those boys tell you about what happened?
What if she wakes up? What if she remembers? Do you know who you welcomed into your home?
Everybody, please put your hands together for the wonderful Lauren Ambrose. Let's hear it. Hey, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course, congratulations on the new show. It's terrifying and weird, and you are very tightly wound. Your character herself is, in my opinion, the most scary aspect of the show because she is on the cusp of breaking in every scene that she is in.
Yeah, it's poor Dorothy.
Is that a lot of fun for an actress to play, or is that actually like a lot of energy and kind of exhausting?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely why I was interested in being in the show. It's an interesting character and a challenging character. Try to figure out how to play this lady who's so deeply in denial about this tragedy. She can't even look at it. She can't even peek at it. So,
do you think she was as wound up prior to the tragedy, or if a lot of this is post tragedy?
No, I think she's. I mean, she's
Always
obviously
been a-
this like type A, ambitious person, newscaster. So that
relate.
probably really hit home for you. Local news reporter. She's very ambitious.
I was watching, I was like, this is what would happen to me if my baby died. No.
Oh dear.
It's been a long day.
Crickets. Not even. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't
Not
like
even.
those
Not-
jokes.
the
Yeah.
baby jokes. No. Yeah. She's.
Ricky After Dark, that's where those can come out. Yeah.
She's. Yeah, but then so she's not even able to even look at this problem, this tragedy that has befallen this couple. But then it sort of bubbles up to the surface every once in a while. Yeah, no, I think she's very much wearing a mask.
How was she described in the script? Was that mask and the idea of the mask described that way, or is that something that you had to sort of piece from the dialogue and the way she was interacting?
Well, so like the assignment was essentially to play a lady who's so so crazed and bereft that she is just like has a doll and is like, what's the problem? Everything's normal. So obviously therein laid my challenge to figure out how to make this person, realish.
Yeah.
Although it's a fable,
I'm curious. In doing slight cursory research about you prior to this interview, you were
Just a quick Wikipedia scan.
basically yes. Excuse me.
I hear you.
So you probably know where all these questions are going to come from. You were a trained opera singer.
Well,
right?
I mean, I studied singing.
You studied singing. You were not.
I love the but the internet is hard and fast. Like someone wrote that long ago, and it sounds like I was singing roles at La Scala. I mean, it wasn't happening.
You
Like
were just
that was
taking-
I was like
you were taking singing classes.
I was studying classical voice. I was studying singing as a kid growing up. There was a moment where I thought maybe I'd train and continue and to become an opera singer, but
It was not as the
it
as
was
Wikipedia makes
not
it out to be.
on the Met at the Met, like singing.
Because like upon reading something like that, then you're fairly quickly cast in something like 6 Feet Under, right?
Right.
Like how long after graduating high school were you cast in 6 Feet Under?
I was 23, 22.
And I was imagining like
Yeah.
a person who's like this classically trained
Yeah.
singer who's suddenly cast as this like this like sad teenager.
Yeah.
Who I think so many of us as teenagers watching that very much related to at the
Sure.
time, but an angsty teenager and being like, I'm a singer. I'm an
What am
opera
I
singer.
doing here? I'm supposed to be.
Did you ever feel that way on the show?
No, I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
I was after that.
Yeah.
Actor's a hard life, but opera singer is even harder.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
There's less roles.
Less roles.
Far
and
less
you have to be.
roles.
I mean, so I did a musical recently, but like the level of stress about one's voice,
Yeah.
it's just it's like crazy making.
Was that
You turn into the character on the show, just like.
was that the
Great.
first musical you had done in a while? My
was
Fair
the-
Lady?
It was
first
I mean,
ever.
I did some musicals in high school,
Right. But
and then I
professionally,
was studying singing.
when you were a professional singer, yes?
and then I finally got to sing in something.
Wow.
I mean, there was some snippets on 6 Feet Under with the like little fantasy moments where I got to do some singing or singing here and there. I like got a band for a while. And
I remember
singing
you
here
had a
and there.
ragtime band, right?
We had a funky jazzy band.
How was that? How did that happen?
This is some buddies,
Yeah.
like some cool jazz fellas and musicians that I know, and we just some really like gypsy jazz guys, and we started singing and playing and
Kept doing it for a little while.
kept doing it for a little while, and yeah, it was fun.
So when you're doing My Fair Lady, are you essentially, like you said, like the character in here, you're tightly wound? You have to sort of focus on your voice all the time?
It's the Broadway. It is for real. Those are some tough dudes who are out there 8 shows a
8
week.
shows a week, right?
Yeah, I did 8 shows a week, and then the plan was always to make it 6 shows a week. I actually ended up doing 7, but I because I wanted to do the matinees and not just do 6. But
What do you do to keep
it
your
was
voice
intense. It's very intense.
intact?
Sleep
Yeah.
is the main thing to be able to sing and perform and run around the stage for 3 hours.
So basically, you're doing the show, going to bed, waking up.
You do the
little bit
show.
of time.
You do the show. Like, that's it. Or at least as Eliza Doolittle, like, you just do the show. And I have 2 kids. So, like, you do the show and you're like,
Really?
some days, yeah.
And they're like, why? And you're like, I'm Eliza.
Yeah, they're like, read us a story.
And then we don't know what that means. We don't care what Eliza Doolittle is. We're
No,
kids.
they very much did care. They were totally involved. They were like at the theater all the time.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Forgive my assumption that.
No,
that
they were in it. They were in it. My kids were.
Otherwise,
I mean, they
had
definitely
no choice.
sacrificed for that show. My whole family, they definitely sacrificed to make that one happen.
Now, the first episode's directed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes, it's sort of hit, as you can see,
M. Night
from M. Night
Shyamalan.
Shyamalan, servant. So he was more than just the director of the first episode. He was really
okay.
the godfather of the piece.
And there's a showrunner within there as well, right?
Yeah, Tony Bascalip is the writer, the creator, and the showrunner, and he's actually written. We made 10 episodes, and he has written every word. He wrote every episode, which is pretty unusual.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's unique in telly. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
I think he's British. It might be the British way that they don't have writers' rooms. But this was so cool. I mean, we started shooting it and we had all of the episodes except for the 10th one, the finale that he was writing while we worked on the first 9. But we
Since
basically
it-
had them all.
By and large, takes place in one location, at least for the early episodes that I saw.
Yeah.
Did you guys shoot it chronologically, or?
Yeah.
Oh wow! So even having those 9 episodes written, you still were shooting chronologically.
We shot like cuckoo levels of chronologically. Like I mean, so it's basically 4 characters trapped in one location. So it's kind of like a play that way, I think. And and the house is beautiful. It's this meticulously recreated old brownstone, old Philadelphia brownstone. Knight does everything in Philly. That's like his thing.
Yeah.
And so it's
There's
this
even a
Philadelphia
line that you
brownstone.
have, I think, in the second episode that is like, "South Philly is a godsend. We're lucky to be living here," or something like that.
Oh, I think South Philly is the slump that she's so grateful she doesn't have to.
Oh,
go
that
there
she doesn't
so
have to live there.
often. Yeah,
Excuse
yeah,
me,
yeah,
I misheard
yeah,
the
yeah,
line.
yeah.
Oh, that's a sad thing to
She's
say.
grateful to be able to
Wealthy.
be. We're so privileged. Exactly. She has no problem. We're so lucky to have no problems. Yeah.
When you're doing a character like this on the set, I'd imagine that there's a way that you can play with her so that it's fun and funny in terms of like in between takes and having a good time, or there's a way of doing it where you kind of have to stay wound up and stay fairly clinched in that in that mentality and the way that her movements are. Where do you fall within that? Like, are you able to sort of joke and play about about your character and about the stuff while you're doing it, or do you have to stay in it?
I don't know. I mean, not like Daniel Day-Lewis levels of like
course.
call me Mr. President, but
Of course not. That's not that. I don't. I mean,
which I always wonder about because I'm like, Abraham Lincoln wasn't in a makeup trailer either. You know what I mean? Like what?
well, yeah. Eugene Merman has that whole bit about like Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln trying to figure out the DVR.
Right.
Like, because
wanna
he's
see
not
that,
supposed
yeah.
to know there's a DVR there, but at the same time,
What's this?
he
Yeah.
wants to watch a clip of something. Yeah.
Right, precisely. No, so anyway, I don't know. I feel like I've been doing this for some time now, and so that I can have an ease about being prepared, knowing how and when to do my work, and part of that is to come out of it, especially when something is very intense, to know when to come out of it so that you don't get sort of burned out.
Right.
But
You could easily
no.
kind of get burned out with a character like this.
Yeah.
Did you fear that at all, or is that something that excites you about doing a character like this?
I don't know. I mean, like, there are certain episodes, I don't want to spoil anything, but there are certain episodes that are particularly intense that, it was just, I mean, it's just so fun. It's like, it's awful stuff to be working on, but it's like Knight is master of the genre and he's like really doing his thing and every detail is considered. It feels like, giant studio movie levels of polish and all of those departments are like super duper pros firing on all cylinders. Like everybody's handpicked to be there, and he's so meticulous about the people he surrounds himself with, the artistry. I mean, between the house and everything. So, it's like when, I don't know, it just feels fantastic to be a part of that. And it's like, okay, now's my moment to do my part of this. And so when it's crackling like that, that's the dream. Like that's what I love about doing this work,
The style of the show is very different from anything that is on TV or streaming or whatever. And I
Yeah.
just mean in the way that he uses the camera.
I know.
What is that like for you guys as actors when he's like, okay, we're going to use a wide angle lens that's going to be like right here in your
Yeah.
eyeball. Like, how do you
know.
prepare for that? What kind of questions do you ask? Or do you just say, okay.
That was actually the first day of shooting. That there's the scene in the pilot or the first episode where, and so Knight's interesting. He storyboards every single shot that he shoots. So you could go in his office and watch the pilot by all the little drawings of each shot. He has this storyboard artist, I think, that he's worked with for years. So every detail is considered. Okay, what were we just talking about?
What is it like when you get
With the lens up in my
because
face.
you are in some way
So like
shooting-
I knew that was coming on some level, that we were gonna be doing this shot where it was right, but then I don't know. It was like first day morning. It's like, okay, here we go, and we're all set up because we storyboarded this, so we know exactly what we're doing, and it was just like boom.
Yeah.
And it was there's actually a scene that we do in the first episode where there's this special slant lens with a mirror, so I could see the other actor, but I'm looking directly down the barrel of the lens. So that was
Because he does that a couple times
Yeah.
where they're looking down the barrel
Yeah.
of the camera there.
But it really just made for, I don't know, kind of a crazy feeling in me and a crazy feeling on the set, and
well, it
the
changes
characters having a crazy moment. So it was kind of perfect. It all worked.
it changes the tone of what you're shooting too, right? In the sense that if you think of something just by way of example, 6 Feet Under, right? It's a beautifully shot television show, but it is still operating the way that a dramatic television show kind of works. In
Absolutely.
terms of coverage. Whereas
Absolutely, yeah.
with this,
No, this is far more cinematic.
Yeah.
It's like a whole other thing. I know, I was thinking about this. To me, it's sort of like we're calling this a television show. It isn't really that. It's sort of like Knight doing his thing in this format. It's kind of like how we call we call them phones, which I think is hilarious. Like that's about the least thing we do with that thing that we all have in our pockets. So
It's
like
a computer.
It's not a freaking phone. It's a computer. It's so many things, and so that's kind of how, I don't know, that it sort of occurred to me. I was like, oh, we're just doing this long form storytelling, regardless of, we don't really have a name for it. It's just it's in this format, and out it comes, and it's these half-hour episodes, which, that was really cool to work in that
love half-hour
tight
episodes.
format. Absolutely, right? Just burn through those.
Love half-hour episodes. Give me more.
But and as one of the artists working on the half-hour episode, it's like everything is tight, condensed. Like there's no fat on the bone. Everything is considered. Everything is meticulous, and so that makes it really, I don't know, just like a sort of crackling work environment.
Is this? I mean, it's a balls to the wall performance in a way for you. I think.
Thank you. I tried to take some risks out there. I
Yeah.
was like, this is a crazy character. We're gonna go for it here.
When you do something like that, you have to be willing to risk failure on set, right? Because you have to be willing.
I feel like I was in good hands though, because
Yeah,
Knight,
that's what I mean.
he knows what he's doing. I've never been in a thriller before, and I was like, this guy is gonna.
Yeah, if you're going to be in a thriller, you should be in
go
one
there.
who's considered the master of thrillers, or who has been called that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he, I really understand why. I think working in this genre is amazing. To me, one of the things I love about being an actor is the collaborative nature of it. Everybody's part is so important, and then it comes together, and it's this amazing thing, and it's like the culmination of all the liberal arts, and it all comes together, and it's. But in a thriller, even more so, like the camera work. I mean, so we went to a premiere of it the other day, and I hadn't really seen it, too much of it. We watched 2 episodes, and it was like, oh, wow, this is what everyone was up to. This is so fantastic to see. It was like we knew they were lighting it weird, and we knew Mikey G, who's our incredible DP, was doing some crazy things with the camera. We knew we were doing 4 or 5 minute takes sometimes just on one scene, which is unusual in anything really, to do these big long oneers. But to see, and the music is fascinating. There's this really cool composer doing the music, and
Well, the silence is fascinating too. There's a lot of silence in the show, which I liked.
The costumes and the set design is unbelievable. But to see it all come together and see what it is we were all making, because I think Knight, it's like in The Sixth Sense, the actors are doing these real performances. I mean, granted, I'm playing kind of a big character, but playing it real for the most part.
Her
And then
stakes
he has
are kind of real in a way. Not that-
absolutely.
maybe. She has a fake baby, but the stakes of the
Yeah.
death, the grief that she's going through, is
she's
very real.
processing this grief in a really bonkers way. But we as the actors are basically playing it on one plane, and then Knight is doing his magic show and like swirling all these crazy forces around underneath us between the lights and the cameras and all of the different parts, and then the sort of supernatural nature of it as well. So
Would you say it's more like I mean, I guess you could just say more like a movie, but the sense that you don't really know exactly what it's going to look like while you're shooting it, whereas when you're shooting a TV show,
Yeah,
you have a
this is
sense
what
of
I
like,
mean.
you
Yeah,
know, we're moving in for the close-up, we're turning around now.
Exactly.
Like, you know, you have an idea as to how the
Yeah.
sausage is made.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, that it felt far more cinematic. And I think in terms of genre, like that's the beauty of this, is that you can tell these big ideas. I mean, this show is getting at these, you know, it's spinning a yarn, but it's getting at like, what is marriage? What is grief? What is the perception of reality? Each character might perceive what's going on in a different way, either as a miracle or as just the world of matter, depending on their perspective. And you can, you know, what is it to have faith? I mean, these are sort of the ideas that are swirling around this piece. And to explore those things literally would be kind of too much and dull. But through genre, you can get at these big ideas, and it lifts it. It becomes an art form. And so I feel like I get it now about thrillers. Like I've always been kind of afraid to go see these movies, but
Really?
yeah, like I'm a scaredy cat when it
scaredy
comes up.
cat.
But now I feel like I'm bitten with it. Like I get it now.
You're
and
ready
I really,
for some thrillers.
I'm ready. And but if I think about it, you know, these are, you know, some of my favorite movies. Exorcist.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the great films, because they just get into your brain in a different kind of way than the sort of literal drama.
Exorcist is such a strange movie too, because it's a horror movie sort of, but it's also shot in this it's not shot like a horror movie that much. It feels very gritty and real, and then at the same time it's not structured as much like a horror movie either. I mean, I guess it is. It's the modern master horror film or whatever, but it feels to me much more like a drama.
Crisis of faith. Yeah.
It never felt to me. I mean, it felt like a horror movie when I was 11, but at like 20, I was like,
Yeah,
this is a
when
drama.
you're focused on the like head spinning around and all the
And
puking.
head
Yeah.
spinning and all that.
But there's a whole other big ideas thing going on.
Yeah.
Which is what, I don't know, it's pretty exciting.
You did 6 Feet Under was what, 7 years, 6 years?
Well, we made five seasons,
Oh,
but
excuse me.
it took longer than 5 years. It was more like 7 years of my life or something like that.
7
Yeah.
years of your life.
Gone.
From like
Absolutely
23
gone,
to
yeah.
30 years old. Like hugely formative years.
Yeah.
What was that like to play a person who was definitely not going through the same things that you were going through personally? Because
Yeah,
she was-
actually, it just transposed a couple years later, so it's kind of perfect. I could kind of gaze back on it.
Yeah. Well, she was far more, I mean, it was obviously heightened, the issues that she was
Written.
falling
Yeah.
herself in, falling into. But at the same time, I think people were perceiving you that way. You were coming of age at a time, like as this character, the sort of classic story of a massively successful show as you were also sort of growing up. Did you ever have any perspective on that, or did it sort of not really affect you that way?
I don't know. I mean, it was it was 100 years ago. It was like acting boot camp. I mean, gosh, I got to go from just doing jobs here and there to acting every day. And that was the main difference, and learning how to learning how to have that stamina, working with these unbelievable actors. Oh my God, working with Frances Conroy every day, the greatest actor.
And getting
Full stop, ever.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Gift, just channel to God.
Unfortunately, given like one line in Joker, which I thought was kind of
I haven't seen it.
cheap shot. I was like, give Frances Conroy some more lines, guys.
Yeah, you got to wonder. Maybe maybe there were scenes that had to not make it or something.
But I mean, because 6 Feet Under was ostensibly, you know, it was a much better than your average soap opera, but it operated as a soap opera.
Sure.
In some way, you are getting every kind of scene possible thrown at you. You are getting death, comedy, tragedy, life, just banal, mundane moments. Acting boot camp sounds about right.
Yeah, fantasy,
Yeah.
singing, dancing sequences here and there.
Do you
Truly.
remember the
And
hardest?
like guest artists, crazy guest actors coming in that were unbelievable. Patricia Clarkson. I mean, just wonderful
Do you remember the hardest
actors.
scene or the hardest episode that you ever had to film for that show?
I don't remember
the most difficult.
Oh,
Mildly
I need
offended by that question.
no. I mean, I can think of good. It's like we look back with rose-colored glasses. I can think of
That's
like
true,
my
yeah.
favorite moments, but the hardest ones. I don't know, but like the 4 a.m. wake up calls and the
Never like the emotional moments where you ever.
Oh no, emotional. Like I said, like you said, was that hard for you? I'm like, yeah, give me that. Yeah, I want the emotional
get to
moment.
cry
Are you
today.
kidding me? Get to cry and then laugh and then yeah, it's great, more of that. Yeah, that's fun.
What did
I don't
you
know
think
what the hard
when?
ones. Being like, the phone is always hard. Watch actors on phones or don't. Look away, because the ones who are great at it, they're really full life because nobody's on the other line. Nobody's on the other end of that phone conversation.
It's scripty on the opposite
Right, it's
side.
scripty, like,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, don't.
I love you.
Please don't hang up.
Don't hang up.
I love you too.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. The other person's on
Right.
camera like.
And it's like a man, right? It's a man. It's supposed to be a woman. Whatever. Yeah.
Do you remember? And I'm sure you've told this story before, and I will say because of how iconic the show is, you'll have to tell the story forever. Do you remember the time that you read the ending? When you guys got together and read the finale for the show?
Yeah, sure. We had the final read through. It was amazing because we all said goodbye to the show and goodbye to each other for this time of our life during the shooting of the end of the show.
Yeah.
It was all wrapping up and all of these end of life, all of these death moments and all of these
Well, it's the
saying
most-
goodbye. And then Claire, of course, is the one really driving off. And that was the last scene we shot. There was me and my little Prius and there was a helicopter. I had a walkie with the helicopter and I was in touch with him. And that was the very last thing we shot out in the desert in L.A.
And so they said cut on you. That's a wrap for 6
So
Feet
wrap
Under.
on 6 Feet Under, and I was the only one there, yeah.
Did you cry?
I'd done all the crying already.
You're a tough one, aren't you?
I mean, I'd done all the crying already in the scenes. I said, got to say goodbye to everyone.
So they're like, that's a wrap on 6 Feet Under. And you're like, all right, guys, I'm
I
out
was
of
like,
here.
yeah. Well, at the time,
Thanks so much. A lot of hard work over the last 5 years. Have a good night.
No, it was obviously hard to say goodbye to all those people. I mean, what's great about that is that we were a company. I mean, anything. It's like the being with your actors and the crew and all the wonderful people. Actually, Knight's really good. He has it's all Philly people there, and he has this crew that he's worked with for years, so they all know each other. It's a great crew, great environment.
You kind of want that because everybody's on each other's team and everybody's working together there. There's no one that's just
It's a
sort of
company. It's
clocking
really
in,
company.
clocking out. Everyone's there for the end product.
Everyone's invested, and invested in each other's lives. I mean, that's what you learn is the best part of it. All of
Investment
it.
in each other's lives.
Of course.
Good coworkers, basically, is what you're saying.
Good coworkers, but you have to, as you know, you have to put in there to.
I try. I don't.
Yeah, you gotta be nice to people.
Sorry, guys. Do what I can. Limited emotional ability and availability. On that note, a couple questions from the audience.
Hey, Lauren. You were
Hello.
talking about what it took to play Eliza Doolittle. So what's different about both the way you manage your energy doing a show like My Fair Lady as opposed to the way you manage your energy here, or you manage your energy when you're not doing anything so that you don't go like physically, mentally, emotionally all over the place. So what's different about
Don't know that I'm managing it that well. No, well, certainly, yeah, it's like different muscles, different levels of, stamina when you're shooting a movie or a TV show, day after day and getting up super early or staying out super late because you're at the theater until 11:30 at night, I don't know. Well, I have a really great family. I have an amazing husband, incredibly supportive.
He manages your
Fella.
energy.
He puts up with a lot and preserves sleep, and I don't know, he's a very nice person, funny person. I don't know how to manage your energy. I don't know.
Sleeps. A couple more questions right here. Hi.
Hey, Lauren.
Yeah, shoot.
So did you go to the reading of Servants after My Fair Lady was over?
No, I went right from My Fair Lady to do this show. I left a little bit early, actually, to go shoot the show.
What was
Yeah.
that like? Were you exhausted from doing My Fair Lady, or were you just excited to keep shooting, keep acting?
I was. Oh my God, leaving My Fair Lady, it felt like getting my arm cut off or something. And that was crazy because it's just like it takes over your whole nervous system, to do something like that.
That's got to be the case too. You're probably dreaming My Fair Lady. You're probably like you close your eyes, you're hearing those songs.
Yeah.
How long does that last until after you leave? How long are you?
Still happening, man.
Is it
Every
really?
night.
Yeah.
I can't get it out of my head. No, no, I mean, it really is sort of tattooed on me now.
Yeah.
It's,
Is that for better or worse?
Oh God, it was an unbelievable experience. Just the people, the talent of every cast member. I mean, there were 30 people in the ensemble, each one like the most talented person you've ever met. I mean, the dancing and the singing and the comedy. I mean, these are just to be around every single person in that, and Rosemary Harris.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Next question.
Hello.
Hi. What lesson have you taken away from filming Servant? Does it differ from any other show you've been a part of, like 6 Feet Under?
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I think really the lesson for me was learning about the genre, learning about what it is to be in a thriller, in the Thrill Factory, and it was a different kind of work, different. Yeah.
Is it kind of like the kind of work that it is? If you're doing a comedy or you're doing a drama, you can approach the scene in terms of like where my character is in this moment and what the emotional factor is for my character and what the truth is for that. But with a thriller, you more often have to be like, where are we going with this scene and how is this affecting the next
handy.
scenes?
It's handy to think ahead.
Yeah.
Although that's not unique to this. I mean, I suppose it's just all the more a collaboration. That was my experience. It was like, now we're gonna do this choreographed dance number with the camera that's swooping around. I'm gonna duck under the thing and open the door and stare and I can't blink. And then I'm gonna, we're gonna go back to it and it's gonna be one take and it was 5 minutes long. So it's, that kind of different thing. And especially coming from doing a play where there's just the ultimate freedom. It's a little more controlled. Especially, well, maybe not any thriller, but the way Night works with it being
Everything's storyboarded.
Storyboarded, everything is thought through, everything is, planned out, where he's gonna have the camera to create tension in this one moment, where he's gonna let you breathe a little bit in another moment and then bring it,
Do you still feel like you have a lot of control over your character and your performance within the sort of, it's being completely storyboarded out? Is there freedom for you as an actor?
Yeah, that was another interesting thing. It's sort of, again, less freedom obviously than being on stage where you have the ultimate, it's like farm to table, like there's no editor, there's no nothing.
Farm to table.
Farm to table art.
That was the subtitle for this edition of My Fair Lady. My Fair Lady, farm to table performance.
Yeah. But with this, it's less so.
Less farm to table.
Less.
Well, I love the show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
3 episodes drop on Thanksgiving Day.
That's right. November 28th. If Thanksgiving Day means nothing to you.
There we go. That's true. November 28th or Thanksgiving Day, which however you want to say it. And then I think it's every week. Another one is airing. Another one is dropping.
We have a bunch
correct?
of Brits in our show, and I remember being like, Thanksgiving, everyone. And they were just like, what? Like, come on, guys. Day of gratitude.
I didn't know where that was going at first. When you're like, we have a bunch of Brits in our show. And I was like, oh, we're still talking about Thanksgiving.
Back to Thanksgiving,
Yes.
Rick. Let's go back to that.
I gotcha.
Sticking with it.
But November 28th, 3 episodes, and then every week after that, right?
And then every week.
Every week.
Until you've seen 10.
That'll be 7 more weeks. I did it. The wonderful, the talented, the great Lauren Ambrose. Let's hear it, everybody.